Welcome back to the Spurs MyNBA, everybody. It is about time to wrap up the season. This Spurs team has been very, very bad this year, but we've also had flashes of good, so it's something that I've enjoyed to see and watch a lot of these young players develop and grow. And before we get into the first game, we're going to do our last prospect showcase. Obviously, I just want to preface this with the fact that there's a lot of prospects in every draft class. We are not going to be able to showcase all of them, so unfortunately, when we get to the draft, there's going to be players that we haven't heard of. There's going to be players drafted that we don't know about, but we should at least know about all of the possible first-round picks, barring any, surprise selections by any team. Today, we're actually going to be going through a lot of players. We're going to be going through about 20 players because I've got 15 to end out the first round, and then I also have about 5 players that could possibly go in the second round. We're going to start today with Mr. Eugene Gilmore. He is a 6'5 shooting guard, point guard hybrid out of LSU. He's only 19 years old. He is basically a do-it-all shooting guard who can finish at the rim. He can shoot, and he has showed to have excellent efficiency and good athleticism and use of his body getting to the rim in tricky situations. The biggest problem with Mr. Gilmore does show some low IQ. He has showed that at LSU and in previous high school games when trying to finish around the rim, so sometimes he takes a little bit harder of a route than he should, and it kind of leads to him getting blocked. Also, he struggles on defense, so Mr. Gilmore is going to have to develop that side of the game. Next up, we're going to go to our second player, which is Matthew Wilcox. He's a 6'8 small forward, power forward out of Minnesota. He has comparisons to Bill Bradley or Darius Miles, so two not great but decent players. Wilcox can shoot that thing. He is an excellent shooter at both levels. He can be a plug-and-play spark plug for a struggling offense, and that's what our scouts have been saying, but not the greatest defender. He's inconsistent. Sometimes you can look at the guy play defense and he can be an elite defender, and sometimes just can't defend at all. Needs to be more consistent on both sides of the ball in order to find meaningful minutes, but obviously he's this high for a reason. He is going to be a promising prospect if you developed correctly, and that's why Matthew finds himself in the basically top 30 potential selections. Next up, we've got Chester Evans, small forward shooting guard, 6'8 out of Air Force Academy. He did not enlist because he basically has a chance to get drafted in the first round. As you can see, he has an all-NBA comparison to Jimmy Butler, Maurice Harkless, one of the youngest players in the draft. He's only 18 years old. Evans has shown a great ability to hit the three and play lockdown defense, two skills that while they won't make you a high-quality player, they will give you a spot on an NBA roster. He has very little experience, though. He was injured a little bit at Air Force, didn't get a lot of playing time as well, but what he did play, he showed his three-point shooting and his defense, but he can be an excellent addition to any team. Probably the biggest worry is his passing ability, but since he's a small forward, shouldn't really be a big part of his game that people are worried about, and he is one of the better people in the draft when it comes to getting steals. So Chester Evans III, at 18 years old, he's a young guy, but expect him to make some noise in the NBA and expect him to have a good rookie season as long as he's selected to the right situation. Next up, we've got one of my favorite players later in this round, D'Anthony Acey, a 7-foot center power forward out of Penn State. Acey is an all-around center. He is 20 years old. He is teammates with other prospect Kyle Morrison, a power forward out of Penn State. Morrison is projected as of right now, after struggling a little bit in the latter half of their college season, he has fallen into the second round, but Acey holds strong here in the first round. He is one of the best shooting big men in the draft and has an outstanding paint offense to go along with it. He's a great defender in the paint, but as we usually see with 7-footers, they usually don't have great perimeter defense. Acey can be exposed really quickly along the perimeter with faster players, but in my opinion, one of the better players in the NBA, Acey, or in the draft. Acey has potential to be an all-NBA caliber player one day, and I would not be surprised if that's sooner rather than later because he has all the tools to do it. He just needs to focus in, hone down his cockiness and all that and become a all-NBA player. So look for him to go early in the draft. Next up, we've got Kobe Tate. Kobe Tate is an interesting one 6'8" small forward shooting guard out of Duke. He's 22 years old. He is a absolutely terrible shooter at both the mid-range and three-point shot. He does make up for that, though, with out-of-this-world athleticism, allowing him to get to the rim and finish around the rim. He uses that athleticism as well to play excellent defense on anyone. He can basically guard anybody, even centers, because he's so good at defense and getting steals and just getting underneath the guy and getting under his skin. Biggest problem, obviously, is Kobe can't hit the three-point ball. That's a big issue in the NBA, so he's going to have to develop that to find a role in the NBA. Next up, we've got 6'2" point guard out of Gonzaga at 20 years old, Jayshawn Burke. Inconsistent offensive game, but can hit the three to some degree and has shown success getting to the basket at Gonzaga. But he's a below-average defender, can kind of be a gritty guy to get some steals every now and then, but he's an excellent offensive initiator, probably one of the better floor generals in the class with great passing IQ and vision. So expect him to come in, run your offense. He's not going to win you the games. He's not going to wow you. But Jayshawn Burke can be a very reliable point guard selection if a team's looking for that, especially in the late first round area that we're talking about right now. Brandon Rollins here at number 7 on the showcase. He's a 6'8" power forward, small forward out of Clemson University, 20 years old. He is undersized, but a good rebounder for his size, kind of like a Charles Barkley type. Not as good as Charles Barkley as obviously, but for a 6'8" power forward, he can protect the rim and he can crash the boards. Somewhat reliable offensively in the paint, but he can't really hit the three ball, can't really shoot the mid-range, but he's got good strength, can overpower people despite the size. Rollins is just an underdog, and I expect him to find a role quickly in the NBA as a smaller power forward hybrid, but compared to him, opposite, we have Trey Davidson, a 6'10" center power forward out of Purdue. He's 21 years old. He is an absolute return to traditional centers. Davidson is going to protect the rim. He's going to get rebounds. He's going to score in the post. Can't hit the three at all, but he has an impressive post hook and is very inconsistent from three and mid-range. A slow player, can be exposed by quick players, but Davidson, if you're looking for a classic center, a classic guy to come down there, get you some rebounds, get some blocks, score in the paint, Davidson is exactly who you're looking for, and that is something that Purdue has produced a few times throughout their history. Next up, we're going to have Matthew Hairston, 6'9" small forward, power forward out of smaller schools here, South Dakota State. He's 21 years old, a veteran at South Dakota State. The thing about Hairston is he doesn't do any one thing all that great. Kind of a jack of all trades, but master of none, so he needs some developing in certain aspects of his game to find a solid role. But he has some serious potential at just 21 years old. I do think Hairston, he can hit the three a little bit, he can hit the mid-range a little bit, but he's not great at all of that. He's an okay defender, but he's not a great defender. Very good potential, but he's going to need to develop. And next up, we have a guy I'm very excited about out of Texas, Karan Young. Actually, I went back for whatever reason. Karan Young is a 6'8" point guard, shooting guard at just 19 years old. He really reminds me of Russell Westbrook coming out of college if you added a few inches to Westbrook's height. He obviously is going to tower over a lot of other point guards. Probably the fastest player in the draft as well. He has such good athleticism and has shown an ability to get to the rim, finish through any contact. He struggles, though, with his shooting game. He's not the greatest three-point shooter. He's not the greatest mid-range shooter, but he can also play defense at a very, very high level. And with his size, he can abuse smaller guards at a good efficiency. So I'm excited to see where this guy ends up. If he falls into our hands, I can't say that I'm going to be too mad. Karan Young looks like he could be an absolute stud. His comparisons aren't that great because we haven't really scouted him fully, but this guy looks like he could be absolutely legit. Next up, we're going to have our first foreign guy of the day. We have Jan Monaldi out of Italy. Monaldi is a 6'7" small forward shooting guard for 21 years old. He is a very, and I mean very good defender at every level. Offensive game, though, needs some help. He can finish okay, but he struggles shooting at the three and the mid-range. Can get steals at a reliable rate, but as I said, he needs to develop the offensive side of the game to become a consistent player on a team. But Monaldi, coming out of Italy at 21 years old, he's got plenty of time to, develop. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. Next up, we've got Ronnie Wingate, a 6'2" point guard out of Michigan State. He's a 22-year-old player. He was a 4-year starter at MSU. Wingate is a solid shooter. He can play defense at an average level. Really needs to get in the gym and work on his strength. He gets pushed around a lot by bigger players, but he can also dish the ball around. He's a good, good passer, good defender, good three-point shooter, but not great at any of those. So Ronnie is a guy that you can draft. You can, kind of put him in there as a good, point guard, but he needs to develop to really wow you and become a ultra good point guard, in my opinion. Next up, we have a guy from Ukraine, Alexander Gornev. He is a 20-year-old, 6'10" power forward center out of Ukraine. Gornev is a good shooter for his size. He can play in the paint at some rate. He needs to work on being more consistent when hitting the boards, but he is still pretty good at it. He also needs to develop his rim protection and improve, as I said, improve rebounding to find a consistent role as a center. But at the power forward position, he could be pretty doggone good. Slow to learn in new situations, though. Gornev is going to need to kind of be molded and pushed into a role slowly. He's not going to be a guy you'll see out there day one, in my opinion, but he can also, compared to Sean Kemp, an all-star, and Greg Anderson, a bench center, Gornev can be thrown into a role, and he can absolutely, in my opinion, play that role very, very well, if you're asking me, because he just has the tools, in my opinion, to do that exactly. Next up, we've got another taller center. We've got 7-foot center out of Canada, 21 years old, Noel Holloway. He can attack the boards. He can protect the rim. Basically, he does everything you expect a 7-foot center to do. He can score at a high clip in the paint. Can also hit the mid-range shot. Only problem is he doesn't have a three-pointer. He really needs to condition better and get better at speed, because he is probably one of the slower players in the draft, so he struggles against pretty much anybody defensively if they're in front of him and not near the basket. JaVale McGee is a good comparison, in my opinion. He is going to give you blocks, rebounds. Don't expect too much else from him, but that's why he's starting to get projected. If we look at some of the projections, he is a late first rounder, early second round projection if we're going off of 2K's rankings, which is what I typically go off of. And now this is where, like with Noel Holloway, we're finally starting to get into second round picks. Maybe guys that will fall, maybe guys that could rise into the first round, but we're getting into second round, early second round, and then I've got a few that could be late second round. First off, we've got Rashid Torres. Compared to Gary Payton II, so you know exactly what he's going to be doing. 6'5", shooting guard, small forward. He is 22 years old. He played at TCU. Experienced player, though. Obviously, he played 4 years at TCU, and he can hit the three-point shot. I mean, he can hit the three-point shot at a high rate. He plays excellent defense on the perimeter. Really needs to work on making the extra pass. He is a guy that at TCU, he kind of got pushed to the bench a few times because he wouldn't pass the ball. He just shoots it whenever he wants. And as we all know, that can be a major issue if you're looking at an offensive, trying to get a consistent offense. So Rashid Torres could be much higher if he was willing to pass. He really needs to work on his passing game in order to become a solid contributor and a consistent contributor. Next up, we've got our last four players. We've got a small center, 6'9", center power forward, Vin Fox out of Weber State, Damian Lillard's alma mater. He is 23 years old, so he's one of the older players in the draft. But as you can see, this guy has a big range. He could be an all-NBA center like Nate Thurman, or he could be a Greg Monroe, a bench center who maybe has a few good years here and there. As we obviously noticed, first off, he's extremely small for the center position, but a small school like Weber State, he absolutely played amazing. He can hit the board still at a relatively reliable rate, and he can also hit the three-point shot. So despite his small size, he can actually provide some stretch big there at the center position, but he is going to struggle against traditional big men. He needs to work on his strength, work on his defense, and if he improves both of those things, he can definitely be a solid player in the NBA, but that's probably the biggest reason he's fallen into the second round, because of his height. And next up, we're going to have Dalen Blackwell. He is a 6'7", shooting guard, small forward out of Michigan, 22 years old. I'm trying to wrap up these relatively quickly because I know you guys want to get into the game. Blackwell can light it up from the perimeter and mid-range, and despite being projected very late, he could find a quick role, in my opinion, as a 3-and-D guy. Dalen is a plug-and-play guy. You can put him in and he can be good. As you can see, he has comparisons to Klay Thompson. That is amazing. But Kyle Korver is also just as good as a three-point shooter. Needs to fill out the other aspects of his game. And while, 22 years old, he's a little older like some of the other guys, he shows extreme potential. And as I said, despite being a second-round pick, he could find a role on a contender relatively quickly. And as we're going to get into the final 3 players for us to look at, we have Anthony Adkins, a 6'11 center out of Notre Dame, 21 years old, defensive-minded center. He can crash the boards, he can protect the rim, really needs to work on his offensive game, but he does have a mid-range shot, which is good enough for some teams to select him, and he can also finish in the paint. Okay, I wouldn't say great, but he really needs to show more to be drafted in the first round, and that's why he's fallen so low in the second round. The final 2 players, we're going to start with Chance Wright-Foreman, a 6'5 point guard, shooting guard out of NC State. He is 20 years old. Foreman is projected pretty late, but he's also shown some great flashes at college. He has shown some great shooting and a good ability to get into the paint and finish above bigger defenders. He needs to be developed. He can pass it a little bit, but he needs to be developed like a lot of guys I've mentioned on this last showcase. But don't be surprised if he jumps into the top 40 despite being projected very late in the second round right now. He has a lot of potential, and I'm excited to see where he ends up. And just on that note, we're going to end our day with another point guard, 6'4 point guard out of Stanford. He is 22 years old. Johnny Sharp, what a name. Sharp is very late in the second round, but he is a solid floor general who can be somewhat plug-and-play if you're looking for a guy who's going to pass it. He's not going to shoot it a lot, and he is reliable. Like I said, from what we've seen our scouts, he won't take over a game, but he can come in and hold a roll down for some time as a reliable defender and a playmaker who probably the biggest hole in his game is overall his shooting and his offensive game. He needs to work on his own offensive game in order to take a leap as a player. And that's going to wrap up the final showcase for recruits. We are going to hop into a matchup against the Houston Rockets. As you can see, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. And I am excited for us to take on our rival here in Texas. As always, I'll see you guys down there on the court. Spurs Nation, let's get this one done. And the Spurs are hitting the court here in the short drive over to Houston. We are completely healthy for the first time in a while. Jordan Hawkins continues to be the starting point guard for this team. He has been very impressive as Vic is going to win the tip-off, and this game is underway. Jordan Hawkins working on Kevin Porter Jr. He has been a staple in the Rockets offense. Hawkins' first shot of the day is missed as we get our first look, really, in this series at the newest Rocket, Ben Simmons. He was traded for in the offseason. They tried or hoped that he would make them a big contender, but obviously they are still a low seed in the NBA, and he has not really made them much better. Jalen Green, though, going to start his day with a miss, but Wemby is going to goaltend it, so the Rockets get up 3-0 now. Jordan Hawkins trying to get this offense going, an easy pick and roll to Wemby, and he dunks that down right past both Jayshawn Tate and Alperen Sengun. Beautiful job by Jordan Hawkins, just leading the defense out, and the Rockets get the ball back down by 1, or up by 1. Keldon Johnson with the rebound. He goes ahead to Devin Vassell, who is trying to work it in the paint. Gets it to Sokan. Sokan goes up and under. No good on the layup. Vic underneath, and he's got the rebound and put back in a good start for Vic. He's got the first 4 points, now the first 6. Make it the first 8 for the Spurs. Wemby just goes up and under Alperen Sengun, and they need really to use that offensive part of his as Russell Westbrook back on the Rockets comes back into the game, and he drills a 3 for the first time, his first shot of the day. It goes down. The Spurs now down by 1. Charles Bassey in the game at power forward. I'm interested to see how that works out because I was thinking about running him. Wemby feeling himself from the corner, and he drains the 3. He has got 11 points here in this first quarter. A beautiful start for Mr. Wembanyama. Now Trey Jones trying to run the pick and roll with Wemby. He's going to get it back to Wemby. Wemby was open along the perimeter, but instead he cuts to the basket, pump fakes, goes up with it, and he's got 15 points and 7 rebounds here in this first quarter now. Trey Jones, the final 10 seconds, gives it to Bassey, working on Westbrook, goes up and around and 1. Charles Bassey, his first bucket of the day is an and 1, and he would finish that with the free throw as the Spurs go up by 5 here late in this first quarter. Westbrook has been impressive for the Rockets, but I expect him to find a new team next year since he's in, late in his career. So he goes up and over. Rui Hachimura showing he's still got it here, and we go into the second quarter knotted up at 20. Keldon Johnson hasn't scored yet. He has struggled today. Pump fakes Thought he would have shot it. Instead, they're going to go around the perimeter. Jordan Hawkins pulls up from the corner, and he hits that one. 23-20 now. Johnson again bringing it up the court. Hawkins crossing over Tate, stepping back, pulling up in his face, and that is good again. Back-to-back triples for Jordan Hawkins as Jayshawn Tate, for whatever reason, went under the screen. As you can see, the Spurs are 3 of 11 from 3, so 2 of those threes have come in the last few seconds. Jayshawn Tate now going around the perimeter. KPJ misses again. The Rockets, terrible shooting percentage so far. Jordan Hawkins going to pull up in Tate's face again, and they need to get him off the floor. 3 straight threes for Jordan Hawkins, now 29-20. Hawkins looking for another one. Instead, this time he goes down to Socon. Wemby is going to pump fake, and he just goes up over Sengun. That is a good shot for Victor Wembanyama. An 11-0 run by the Spurs. And the Rockets trying to stop the 11-0 run. Kevin Porter Jr. puts it up. Can't get it to fall, so it's 31-20 now. And the Spurs coming back on the other way. Devin Vassell coming off the screen from Wembanyama. He's going to pull up, and he is going to hit it. It's another 3 for the Spurs. 34-20 is your score here with about 6 minutes left. 14-0 run for the Spurs, and the Rockets end it with a Kmart Jr. slam off the alley-oop. They have shot 26% from the field. Just abysmal from this Rockets offense. 34-22 is your score here. We are on a prolonged run because Jordan Hawkins is doing things like that. 37-22. The Rockets couldn't find an answer for Jordan Hawkins there on that run. Now 39-27. Rui Hachimura's shot was open, but he wasn't able to hit it. Jabari Smith Jr. coming off the bench for this Rockets team in place of Ben Simmons, and he gets rejected. Victor Wembanyama protecting the rim. Vassell back the other way. They have to slow it down. Get it to Sochan. Muscles it over Jalen Green, and the Spurs offense continues to accelerate. 43-31. Hawkins working on Jalen Green. He's going to step into the mid-range right with the hand in his face. That one is a very difficult shot for Jordan Hawkins. Now, final 10 seconds left of the quarter. Trey Jones in at point guard. Off the screen, he's going to go to E.J. Liddell at the buzzer, and it's good. 1.8 remaining in the second quarter. And we come out in the third quarter. Jordan Hawkins getting stripped by Jalen Green. Green's going to go down low to KPJ, and he slams that one down with one hand. They've brought it down to just 11 now. Simmons going to go in the corner. KPJ has had the green light all day. Instead, Jalen Green's going to pull the trigger. He's hitting the 3. He has got 7 points on 11% shooting. Now Jalen Green going to go in the corner. This time it's Jayshawn Tate. So 3 straight buckets for the Rockets. 51-45 is where we stand. A 6-point ball game now. Jordan Hawkins working on the defense. Going to give it to Vassell. Driving. He gets stopped. Excellent defense by Jalen Green. So Jordan Hawkins has to reset. He's going to go into the paint. Up over Sengun and one. Jordan Hawkins with the tough layup, and he has a chance now to make it a 54-45 ball game. A 9-point lead if he hits this one, and he does that. Jordan Hawkins has 18 points here today. KPJ going to pull up. Trey Jones was late to contest, but he still misses it. Now they're off to the races. Malachi Branham has the ball. He is yet to score now. 0 points, just 1 assist for Branham on the stat sheet. He's going to go down low to Charles Bassey, who has to pump a couple times, but he's going to get the layup. He's got 5 points and 4 rebounds. A productive day for him. Look at those numbers down there. Kevin Porter Jr., 1 of 8 from 3 and 1 of 4. Malachi Branham says, I can do it better than that. 5 points quickly here in this third quarter for Branham. Now Charles Bassey gets it and goes straight up and over KPJ. He's got 7 points. The Spurs slowly blowing this one out of proportion. 72-52. KPJ dribbling with the ball. He wants to go across the screen. He's going to pull up and get stuffed. 72-52. Rui Hachimura, don't really think of him as an offensive or defensive player, but he's still flying from 3. Jordan Hawkins hits it in transition now. 79-56. His pass on the next play is broken up, stolen, off to the races, and it's a missed layup. Kmart Jr. with the rebound. Josh Christopher pulls up from 3, and he's got it. Beautiful, just a beautiful rebound and shot. The Spurs basically have their bench players in at this point. Kim Birch on Russell Westbrook goes up and over. 85-61 now. Jordan Hawkins going to the basket, misses the layup. Wemby with the rebound. He's going to go out to Emily Bates. Bates is going to find Hawkins off the trailing three, and he hits it. 26 points for Jordan Hawkins. Add 5 rebounds and 4 assists. Now Hawkins is going to go to Bates, who's kind of crammed in the corner. Danny Green pulls up from the corner, and why not let it fly? The Spurs would finish the job 95-73. What a showing for this Spurs roster in their final game of the series, basically, as we will be simulating to the offseason here in a few seconds. A beautiful, beautiful way to recap the season, even with the struggling record. They come out here and they have a big win against the in-state rival Houston Rockets. 95-73 is your final. And I know this is a bit of a longer episode, but I wanted to get through some of those prospects because I didn't want to just do the first round, so I wanted to at least have a few prospects, scouted and showcased for the second round. Maybe next season we'll do it a little bit better than we did. Westbrook was impressive. He shot 70% from the field, 17 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound. Didn't play a lot of minutes. Should have played a whole lot more than Kevin Porter Jr., for being honest. KPJ was 2 of 18 from 3, 5 of 24 from the field. He had struggled. Jalen Green, 10 points, 2 of 14 from the field, 2 of 11 from three-point land. So the Rockets, they shot 9 of 47 from 3. The Spurs had their best shooting clip so far from 3, I believe, 12 of 31. They were about 39%. Jordan Hawkins, 26 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. He was 9 of 15 from the field, 6 of 8 from 3. I am expecting Jordan Hawkins going forward to be our starting point guard next year if nothing changes. Victor Wembanyama, he had 15 in the first quarter. He only finished with 12 the rest of the day, unfortunately. But 25 points, 16 rebounds, and he just had a good showing. That, 11 of 12 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3. He has been impressive this whole year, and it's just been fun to see him grow and just see where he's going to develop as an NBA player. After him, Charles Bassey, I was impressed with, as his power forward minutes were higher than usual. 11 points, 5 rebounds, 5 of 5 from the field. Devin Vassell, 7 points, 5 rebounds. We really didn't need much help outside of the, committee. And Jordan Hawkins and Wembanyama combining for 51 points. That is probably going to be our duo of the future. And Keldon Johnson, I just don't know what to do with him. These last few games we've played, he struggled. 1 of 13 from the field, 1 of 9 from three-point land. He had a lot of wide-open looks. He just couldn't hit it. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of his career as a Spur goes, because he's not guaranteed a spot on the roster. And with a guy like Jalen McDaniels sitting in free agency, a 26-year-old, a younger guy, there are people that we could re-sign and we could bring back instead of Keldon Johnson. So I'm interested to see how the offseason goes for him, but we're going to go through the rest of the year and see where the rest of the season takes us. We are currently 27-49. I would like if we finish 27-49. Hopefully we don't. Yeah, well, we got to win, obviously. We got 2 wins. Final record was 29-53. Jason Tatum takes home the MVP, 32 points, 11.5 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and a block almost. He shot 47% from the field, 87% from the free throw line, and man, impressive 42% from 3. Rookie of the year somehow was Paolo Banchero. This is glitch, so I am going to give it to Wemby because, if you look out of all the new rookies, he is the best. So I'm going to give it to Wembanyama just because I think he deserves it. 18 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2.7 blocks a game is very impressive. 50% from the field, 76% from the free throw line, and 32% from the three-point line. So Wembanyama wins Rookie of the Year. You might, if you guys don't like that, I can always go back and change it. But I just don't like how it's, he is not going to win Rookie of the Year because these players glitched and were still considered rookies. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it to Wembanyama. 6th Man of the Year is Jordan Poole for the Warriors. He averaged 20 points per game, 3.9 rebounds, 5 assists. Walker Kessler wins Defensive Player of the Year. He had 3 blocks and pretty good offensive season for him. About 7 points, 11 rebounds. Most Improved Player, Austin Reeves. Where did he go from? I'm interested to see that. Where did he jump up from? He went from 13 points per game to 23 points per game, and his efficiency did drop a lot, but still a very, very big jump for him. Coach of the Year, Steve Kerr, 57 wins for the Warriors, and Alfred McMillan. Somebody won more games than the Warriors. I'm interested to see. I'm imagining that's the Celtics or the Cavs, the two teams that were top in the Eastern Conference. All-NBA rosters, we've got Ja Morant, Trae Young, Jason Tatum, Giannis, and Nikola Jokic. All-NBA first team, All-NBA second team is Luka Doncic, Darius Garland, Zion, KD, the newest Nick, and Domantas Sabonis. And then we've got All-NBA third team, Shea, making what I believe is his first appearance as an All-NBA player. So that is a good job for him. Yeah, this is first time. Well, technically he made first team All-NBA last year, but he is third team All-NBA this year. Donovan Mitchell, All-NBA. This is his second appearance. He made first team All-NBA last year. Paolo Banchero in his rookie season made All-NBA. Yeah, see, he already has the Rookie of the Year technically, so I don't know why they tried to make them rookies again. Jimmy Butler, All-NBA third team, and Joel Embiid finishing All-NBA third team. He did not get his MVP or get as great of a season, in my opinion, as people expected from him. Only averaging 20 points per game, way down from 33 points per game. So that's a little bit disappointing if you're a 76ers fan. Defensively, we've got Lonzo. Kennedy Chandler averaged, oh my goodness, a block and a half a game and basically 2 steals a game. I mean, 31 minutes per game, that is crazy impressive for a 5'11 point guard. Definitely deserved. Jonathan Isaac, Giannis, and Walker Kessler. Isaac is the newest member of the Sacramento Kings. Then we've got on the second team, no Wembanyama, surprisingly. Kind of disappointed. Matisse Thybulle, DeJounte Murray, Evan Mobley, Jason Tatum, and Robert Williams. The all-rookie team, we're going to have Paolo, Wemby, Jaden Ivey, Scoot Henderson, and Chet Holmgren. We're actually going to, because let's see, these guys have probably already made all-rookie teams, I imagine. Let's see here. I would like to see, yeah, he made first team all-rookie. So we're going to actually override with people who are actually rookies because I want, like, Brandon Miller. We're going to replace Paolo with Brandon Miller. Jaden Ivey needs to be replaced with somebody. Somebody that's a new player and preferably a rookie from this past draft. Julian Strawther. He had 332 points. Let's see who the highest is. And it would be not a lot of people. Jet Howard. We'll go with Jet Howard. He made all rookie first team, and Chet Holmgren is still a rookie as well. Scoot Henderson made it, and we're not going to worry about this. Just go with the first team. Whoever deserves it, deserves it. And that is all of the NBA accolades. Obviously, we didn't finish in the play-in as I kind of hoped earlier in the season. We finished 13th in the conference, tied with the Rockets. We obviously had the tiebreaker. Unfortunately, we beat them by a lot. The Suns finished dead last in the Western Conference. Then you've got out east, the Milwaukee Bucks dead last. They probably don't have their pick, I imagine. Drew Holiday is injured, I would hope, because he's a 77 overall. I hope that doesn't mean that's his overall now. Yeah, he's injured right now, so the Bucks are terrible, and they also don't have their pick, so there's a chance they try to blow it up this offseason and try to rebuild around Giannis, in my opinion. The Hornets still pretty doggone bad, even with their rookies they drafted, who Scoot, obviously he was injured towards the end of the season, and they went on a 5-game losing streak to end the season. We will finish the playoffs next episode. I don't want to go through that. We'll go into the playoffs, and then we will go through the offseason into the draft and through the free agency, and that is what will be next episode. As you can see, the Nuggets are the 1 seed. Boston's the 1 seed in the East. There's going to be a crazy, crazy playoff series or playoff experience. So I hope you guys are excited to see who takes home the championship in this year's 2024 NBA playoffs. But as always, I hope you enjoyed this series. As always, I will see you guys next time, Spurs Nation.